Hey, welcome to the first ever season of Simply Delilah, starring me, Delilah. This season is all about scrappy projects. You'll get to watch me fall in love with all my fabrics again. I have florals, stripes, polka dots, Mickey Mouse. Wonder what I'll do with them. I don't know. Maybe that? Or how about maybe something like that? So there will be a new episode every Wednesday night. So subscribe to my channel because I promise you will not want to miss out on this never before seen footage. Now grab your scraps and let's get started on our first project. Don't you love the sound of freshly cut fabric? Okay, so the first project we're going to do in the Scrappy series is this Scrappy pincushion. Look at, oh, I just love it. It's like eye candy to me. You can just pick out your favorite fabrics and you can use different sizes. I'm gonna use 1-inch strips, but I believe in this one, some of them are 1.5, some of them are 1 1/4, and it is scrappy, so just kind of have fun with it. And keep in mind, you can place your fabrics completely random. It'll still be cute, or you can line up your dark values with your lights, darks, lights, and that'll give you a really cute contrasting pincushion. So when you go through your scraps, see this one's kind of like a medium value. This one I guess would be considered dark. This one would be considered dark, and so forth. So just kind of keep that in mind when you are selecting the different scraps that you want to use. And the pincushion that we make today is going to be a little bit smaller than this one, but not quite as small as this one. We're going to work with a 4-inch square. So let me show you what you need. We need to make sure we have a stabilizer because a lot of the strips that you cut may be on the bias. So like this one is stretching this way. And so we want to have a stabilizer. I've used paper piecing stabilizer before and I just feel like it's too thick. So I just went with regular tissue paper. Like this is tissue paper that you would use to wrap a present. And I just cut it in a 4-inch square. I mean, I just need to cut that part off. So, okay, so this is a 4-inch square. You're also going to want a little bit of some Warm and Natural or some type of batting because after we're done with the top of the pincushion, we're going to quilt it. See how it's got the cute little stitches in it? I love that look, and so that's what I'm going to do with mine. So you'll want that. Then you're going to want some filling to fill your pincushion. So some people just use batting like this. I've even seen where people will even use their scraps of fabric. What I'm going to use is a little bit of this to put in the corners, and then I also have, these are actually walnut shells. I got it with this big bag from the pet store years ago, and that's what I fill all my pincushions with. And I'll also attach a link in my descriptions tab so that you can read more about it if you've never heard of it. And then we're also going to add a little strap to it so you can hang it up if you'd like. So you are going to need your strips of fabric, some Warm and Natural, tissue paper or some other type of stabilizer. It's a 4-inch square, and then some filler. So you can do this or you can do the walnut shells that I was talking about. I'm just gonna pre-select some strips to go together so I have an idea of what to sew. So I've got like some stripes and polka dots, and you'll just want to mix like your darks with your lights. And then we're going to take our first strip and we're going to line it up to the edge of the tissue paper. And then the second strip, we're going to face down so the right sides are together and sew along that line. Okay, so after we've got that one sewn on, now we're going to move on to the next one. So I chose this fabric and I am going to place it on top of this one, and we're going to sew right along here. Okay, so here we are at the machine. I got the right sides together, and we'll just go ahead and sew down. So this is what it is looking like so far. You can finger press the fabric and then just lay your next one on top of that and sew down. Just keep sewing the rest of your strips on until you get to the end of the tissue paper. Time to trim it, and I like to trim it from the front. That way you can line up the lines with the lines from your ruler. And I'm squaring this up using a 4-inch square. The next step is to sew a straight stitch around the block. Now that your stitches are in place, we can go ahead and tear the tissue paper off the back. Now it's very important to get all the tissue paper off because if this ever gets wet, then the color will bleed onto the fabric. Now we're done with our 4-inch block and you can just admire it. I kind of want to just put mine in my pocket and take it with me everywhere. I just love the fabrics, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to quilt it now. When I sew it, I'm going to sew down the middle first. So I'm just going to put my pins everywhere but the middle. And just do straight stitches along here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be pretty. Let's go over to the machine and we'll just start straight stitching. So I don't like to stitch in the ditch because I like to see my stitches. So I'll just be stitching along the ditch and so I'm just gonna stitch along the ditch. Not in the ditch though. Well, you get what I'm saying. If you are still watching, then give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing because I will have more Scrappy projects in the next few weeks. Now trim up your block so it's nice and pretty. And yes, I'm all fancy because I found my rotating mat. Now we're going to make a strap so that we can hang this up on our pegboard. I'm cutting mine 2 by 4 inches and I'm just going to fold it in half again, and stitch the edge. Now we have our block, our back fabric, and our tab. We're going to find the middle by putting a pin in it. And we'll pin our hanging tab to it and take it to the machine to stitch it in place. I always do a couple of back stitches. And now we will stitch the back to the front, so put the right sides together, and we're going to do a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure that you leave a little opening somewhere in the square. Make sure you do a back stitch. So I'm doing that right here. Back stitch again. And back stitch where the tabby hook loop thing is going to be. Now we'll go ahead and turn the right sides out. I feel like this part should be done behind closed doors. But I know you guys can all relate that the struggle is real. So I'm going to go ahead and get my turning tool now. I use my crochet hook and just poke out those edges. And then if you want them really sharp, then you can take your needle and just kind of poke out the corners. Moving along, now we're going to fill it. So I forgot to put my batting in first. Usually I put a little bit of batting into each corner, but I was in a hurry here, so I just started with the walnut shells, which is fine. So just kind of work that in there. And by the way, if you have any suggestions, then just go ahead and leave them in the comments, because I'm always excited to hear about new methods or just different ways to make things faster. I love my pin cushions to be really, really full, so I just pack it until I can't no more, and then I put this batting into it to kind of seal the walnut shells in place. It makes it easier for me to stitch it closed. Also, if you make one of these pincushions, make sure that you take a picture and you can tag me on Instagram at Simply Delilah, and I'll put that link in the descriptions below. Now I'm just going to hand stitch it closed with some needle and thread. I don't have any special method that I use. I actually used a couple of different stitches here, but it's fine. My goal is to just close up the hole. Oh, wait. Before the music starts, I want to invite you to come back here on Friday. I'm going to share some other finished projects. In next week's episode, we will be revealing another Scrappy project. So until next time, remember, it doesn't need to be perfect to be pretty.